Hi guys, welcome back to Felix BL Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this new story. Dominic Lee had published my research under his own name, and I found out because the journal sent me a rejection for a paper I had never submitted. The message reached my phone at 4:12 on a Thursday afternoon. At 4:13, I opened the journal website. At 4:14, I saw the title of the study that had consumed 3 years of my life. At 4:15, I saw Dominic's name where mine should have been. The accepted paper listed Dominic Lee as first author and Professor Malcolm Voss as senior author. My name was not hidden in the acknowledgments. It was not buried in the supplementary material. It was not misspelled beneath a chart. It was gone. I printed the article with hands that would not stop shaking. Then I pulled my red research notebook from my desk drawer and compared the publication dates with the handwritten entries inside it. Every protocol was mine. Every patient response model was mine. Every revision that had turned an unstable theory into a viable treatment was dated in my handwriting. Dominic had watched me write half of those pages. He had brought me coffee during the nights when my suppressant patches made me dizzy. He had steadied my wrist when exhaustion caused my pipette to tremble. He had stood between me and aggressive senior alphas at conferences without ever making me feel weak. I had trusted him more than anyone in the institute. That was why the betrayal did not feel like losing a paper. It felt like discovering that the person who knew where I was most vulnerable had been measuring the distance to strike. I found him in the preparation room beside the institute auditorium, wearing the black suit he had chosen for that evening's Hawthorne Medical Prize ceremony. The award was supposed to recognize the research described in the stolen paper. Dominic looked up when I entered. His alpha scent changed before his expression did. The clean cedar note I had known for years sharpened with fear. Not guilt. Fear. I threw the printed paper onto the table between us. You published without me. Dominic went completely still. The room contained garment bags, sealed presentation cases, and the gold-edged ceremony program with his name printed across the front. He looked at the paper. Then he looked at the red notebook under my arm. "Evan," he said, "do not say my name like you still have the right." His jaw tightened. "I need you to lower your voice. You erased me from my own research. And you are worried that I might embarrass you before your acceptance speech? I am worried about who is listening." The door behind me clicked. Professor Voss stood in the corridor. He was smiling. Before this story continues, remember to like the video and subscribe for more BL Omegaverse stories. This is the YouTube safe version, the full uncut continuation, adult spicy scenes, Dominic's alternate alpha point of view, the real ending, and the bonus epilogue are available on Patreon. Professor Malcolm Voss was the kind of alpha whose reputation entered a room before he did. His portrait hung in the institute lobby beside a list of patents, grants, and international honors. He chaired the committee that controlled my research appointment. His signature appeared on my employment sponsorship. His recommendation could open laboratories across the country. His accusation could close them. He was 61, silver-haired, immaculate, and rarely forced to raise his voice because entire departments hurried to obey the quiet version. He glanced at the paper on the table. Then his gaze settled on me. "You should be preparing the cultures for tomorrow's verification run, Mr. Cross. My name is missing from the study." Voss smiled more gently. "Authorship is determined by qualifying contribution. My contribution is the study." Dominic moved between us. The motion was subtle, but I knew him well enough to understand it. He was blocking Voss's direct path to me. Voss noticed too. "Dominic," he said, "the committee photographer is waiting. I need 5 minutes. You have already used more time than this situation deserves." I stepped around Dominic. "I have dated records." Voss's eyes lowered to the notebook. For the first time, his smile changed. It did not disappear. It became interested. "Institute property," he said. "My handwriting. Produced during institute-funded hours, inside institute facilities, with Institute materials. You cannot own the truth because you paid for the paper it was written on. Dominic inhaled sharply. Voss's gaze flicked toward him. Something silent passed between them. I recognized the exchange without understanding it. Dominic was warning him. Voss was reminding Dominic that warnings had consequences. Then an alarm screamed through the corridor. The overhead lights turned red. A mechanical voice announced that a possible aerosol contamination had been detected in Cell Culture Suite 3. Steel shutters dropped over the exterior windows. The magnetic laboratory doors sealed with a sequence of heavy clicks. A second announcement ordered all personnel to remain in their current containment zones until biosafety officers completed atmospheric testing. Professor Voss stepped backward before the nearest partition closed. Dominic caught the edge of the door, but the locking mechanism forced it from his grip. Voss remained on the auditorium side of the glass. Dominic, Priya Nair, and I were sealed inside the laboratory wing. Voss lifted one hand to the glass. His expression no longer resembled a smile. He pointed at Dominic. Then he pointed at the notebook I was holding. The red emergency shutters descended between us. Our exhausted lab manager came running from the central preparation room, one shoe untied and a protein bar still clutched between her teeth. Priya had managed our laboratory for 7 years. She knew where every sample was stored, which machines lied about their calibration, and which senior scientists took credit for work they could not reproduce. She was a beta, which meant Voss could not overwhelm her with alpha pressure. It did not mean he had never tried. She pulled the protein bar from her mouth. "Tell me nobody opened the vector cabinet." "No one opened it," Dominic said. "Then why is the aerosol monitor detecting an adenoviral marker?" "I do not know." Priya looked at me. Her gaze dropped to the printed paper, then to my face. "Oh," she said. "You knew?" "I knew something had been submitted. I did not know you were excluded. Everyone keeps not knowing things that destroy my life." The emergency speaker crackled. A biosafety officer ordered us to proceed to separate decontamination rooms. Priya was assigned to the control vestibule. Dominic and I were directed into the inner research suite because our identification badges showed recent access to Cell Culture Suite 3. Priya swore under her breath. "The verification cycle takes 8 hours. 8 hours?" I asked. "If the first result is inconclusive, it resets." Dominic checked his watch. The award ceremony began in 4 hours. I laughed once. It sounded wrong in the sealed corridor. "Do not worry," I told him. "Maybe they will slide your trophy under the door." Dominic's expression tightened. I was never going to accept it. "You are wearing a custom suit. I needed to be on that stage. To collect an award for my work. To make sure Voss could not stop what came next." The contamination doors opened one at a time. Priya grabbed my sleeve before I entered the decontamination chamber. "Keep the notebook with you." "Why?" "Because Voss looked at it like a man deciding which fire alarm to pull." The door sealed before I could ask what she meant. Cold disinfectant mist filled the chamber. I closed my eyes and held the notebook beneath my lab coat. Across the transparent divider, Dominic stood in the neighboring chamber with his palms open at his sides. The spray darkened his black hair and soaked the shoulders of his suit. He looked less like the celebrated alpha researcher whose face appeared on the ceremony banners, and more like the man who had once slept on the laboratory floor because I had developed a fever during a 40-hour assay. I hated that memory. I hated every gentle thing he had ever done, because each one now felt like another line in a lie. When the cycle ended, the inner doors opened into a shared quarantine room. It contained 2 desks, a wall monitor, emergency medical supplies, a narrow observation window, and no exit that responded to our badges. Dominic removed his wetsuit jacket. I turned away before my body could remember that anger did not automatically erase attraction. Omegas were supposed to be cautious around powerful alphas during stress events. Elevated cortisol could destabilize suppressants, Alpha pheromones could intensify instinctive responses even when neither person wanted them. Dominic had always respected that. He kept scent blockers in his desk for me, he asked before entering my personal space. He never used his voice to command me, even when other alphas considered dominance an ordinary privilege. That history made what he had done worse. I placed the wet article on one desk. Explain. Dominic set his jacket on the other chair. I cannot explain until we secure the submission records. You had 3 years to explain before stealing my name. Your visa sponsorship is controlled by Voss. The words struck so directly that I did not answer. Dominic crossed to the wall monitor. He opened the Institute archive and entered his credentials. The screen flashed red. Access suspended. Voss moved quickly, he said. What does my visa have to do with the paper? Dominic tried another account. It failed. Everything. Then say everything. Then say everything. He looked at the camera in the corner. There are recordings in this room. Good. You do not understand. No, Dominic. I understand exactly one thing. You submitted my work and allowed the world to believe it was yours. I allowed Voss to believe he had won. The publication is real. So is the submission history, which you just lost access to. Not all of it. He reached into the inside pocket of his wet jacket. The pocket was empty. Dominic searched it again. His face changed. What was there? I asked. A flash drive. Containing what? Proof. I stared at him. You brought secret evidence into a decontamination chamber inside a jacket that was about to be soaked. It was sealed. It is not there. I know. The intercom activated. Priya's voice filled the room. Dominic, Voss ordered security to collect your personal effects before the lockdown. I blocked the request, but someone accessed the preparation room using a temporary administrative credential. The drive was in my jacket before the alarm, Dominic said. Then it may be in the chamber drain. Can you reverse the filtration capture? I can try. I am also attempting to determine why the contamination alert originated from a sensor that passed inspection this morning. I moved closer to the intercom. Priya, did you know Dominic submitted the paper? I knew Voss had demanded a final manuscript. Dominic told me not to send any of your archived notebooks to Central Records. I looked at Dominic. Why? Because Central Records reports to Voss. Priya continued before he could answer. I thought he was protecting your unpublished work. Evan, I swear I did not know they had removed your name. My phone vibrated. The screen showed 6 missed calls from my younger brother. Noah was 23, studying emergency nursing, and incapable of leaving a message shorter than 2 minutes. He knew the ceremony mattered to me, although I had told him I would not attend. He had replied that someone needed to sit in the audience and look judgmental on my behalf. I answered. Evan, he said, why are security officers asking whether you have permanent residency? My hand tightened around the phone. Where are you? In the auditorium lobby. I came early because you said there would be free food. Noah. I am joking because 3 men in gray suits just asked the reception desk whether your employment ends if tonight's grant is transferred. Dominic looked at me. His alpha scent sharpened again. I put the call on speaker. Noah continued. One of them has a folder with the immigration liaison's name on it. What is happening? Go home, I said. No. Please, tell me what happened. I looked at the wet paper. Dominic published the study without me. There was a long silence. Then Noah said, I am going to break his nose. Dominic leaned toward the phone. That would be fair. Noah recognized his voice. You are with him? We are sealed in quarantine. Good. I hope the air is poisonous. It is probably not, Priya said through the intercom. Noah made a startled sound. I closed my eyes. Find the journal editor, Dominic said. Her name is Celeste Romero. She is attending the ceremony as a committee guest. Why would she help you? Tell her version 7 still exists. Dominic spoke the sentence with such certainty that I turned toward him. Noah was silent for a moment. Then he said, "What is version 7? "The manuscript with Evan's name." My pulse stumbled. Dominic reached for the speaker control, but I moved between him and the phone. "You said my visa was involved. Evan, tell me now." He looked at the camera again. Then he reached up and disconnected it from the wall. The indicator light died. An alarm chirped, but the quarantine door remained sealed. "Voss approached me 6 weeks ago," Dominic said. "He said the Hawthorne Committee would not consider a manuscript led by an Omega on a temporary research visa. That is illegal." "Yes." "And obviously false." "Yes." "He wanted you as first author." "He wanted me as the visible author. He wanted himself named as the intellectual lead." "You agreed?" "No." I held up the paper. "This says otherwise." I refused 3 times. "What changed?" Dominic's eyes moved to my phone. Noah was still listening. Dominic lowered his voice. "Voss showed me a draft misconduct report accusing you of copying restricted patient data into a private device." "I never did that." "I know." "Then why would anyone believe him?" "Because the device was registered under your badge." The red notebook suddenly felt heavy against my ribs. I remembered a missing tablet from the shared analysis room. Priya had reported it, but Voss's office claimed it had been sent for repair. "What did he threaten?" I asked. Dominic answered carefully. "He said that if your name appeared on the paper, he would file the report, terminate your appointment, withdraw institutional sponsorship, and notify immigration authorities that you were under investigation for medical data theft." Noah swore through the phone. I barely heard him. "You believed him." "I believed he could do it. You decided to protect me by stealing my research. I decided to keep you inside the country long enough to expose him." "You could have told me." "He monitored your institute email, your office access, and your sponsorship correspondence. You could have walked into my apartment. He had someone watching your building. The room became very quiet. I thought of the black sedan I had noticed twice during the previous week. I had assumed it belonged to another tenant. You expect me to believe this because you say it while trapped in a room with me? No." Dominic sat at the nearest desk. "I expect you to believe the records." The wall monitor suddenly activated. A video call request appeared from Celeste Romero. Noah had found her in less than 3 minutes. I accepted the call. Celeste appeared on screen wearing a dark green evening dress and the severe expression of a journal editor who had been interrupted before dinner. She was an Omega in her 40s, with gold-rimmed glasses and a reputation for retracting fraudulent papers regardless of the author's status. Behind her, I could see the institute lobby. Noah stood over one shoulder. Professor Voss stood 20 feet away, speaking to security. Celeste looked at me. "Dr. Cross, I assume you did not authorize your removal from the manuscript." "No." Her mouth flattened. "That answers one question. How many others are there?" "Your study entered our portal as version 7 with 3 authors, Evan Cross, Dominic Lee, and Malcolm Voss. The corresponding author account then withdrew it 12 minutes later." "Whose account?" Dominic asked. "Professor Voss's." Dominic leaned closer to the monitor. "And the resubmission? It arrived as version 8 from your account. It listed you and Voss." I looked at Dominic. He did not look away. Celeste continued. "The contribution declaration in version 8 claims that you designed the protocol, conducted the core analysis, and wrote the manuscript." "That declaration is false," Dominic said. "I suspected as much when your private message instructed me to preserve the metadata." My anger faltered. "You messaged her?" 3 minutes after submission, Celeste said. "He wrote that the authorship record had been altered under institutional pressure and that public action would be taken at the Hawthorne ceremony. He asked me not to alert the corresponding author, because doing so might place another researcher at immediate legal risk." "Why did you accept the paper?" I did not make that decision. The final acceptance was authorized by a guest editor appointed through the Hawthorne Funding Partnership. Voss, Priya said over the intercom. Celeste nodded. His former student. Dominic's account had submitted the lie. Voss had engineered the review. Celeste had preserved the evidence. None of it changed the fact that I had learned about the betrayal from an automated rejection notice. "You should have contacted me," I said. Dominic's voice was low. "I know. That is not an answer. It is the only honest one I have." Celeste looked between us. "There is more. The raw contribution files attached to version 8 are unusual." "How?" I asked. "All analytical work attributed to Dr. Lee appears to have been removed 48 hours before submission." I turned toward him. Dominic said nothing. Celeste adjusted her glasses. "The accepted paper is built almost entirely from files, time-stamped under your researcher identification, Dr. Cross." Dominic deleted his contribution? "That is what the archive suggests." "Why would he do that?" Dominic answered. "To make the theft impossible to disguise as a disputed collaboration." The meaning reached me slowly. If Dominic had left his own models in the paper, Voss could claim that authorship was a matter of interpretation. He could argue that Dominic had contributed more than I remembered. He could bury the dispute beneath committee reviews and institutional procedure. Dominic had removed every legitimate claim he possessed. Then he had put his name on work that the records proved was mine. He had made himself guilty on purpose. "That could end your career," I said. "Yes." "You plan to confess on stage?" "Yes." "Without warning me?" "Yes." While Voss controlled my visa. Dominic's hands closed into fists. "The Hawthorne ceremony is streamed to every major funding partner connected to the Institute. The Oversight Committee, Journal Board, Immigration Compliance Officer, and press representatives are all in the room. Voss can silence a private complaint. He cannot erase a public confession witnessed by the people who finance him." Celeste looked toward the lobby behind her. "He is approaching." Noah stepped closer to the screen. I copied the call link. "Do not do anything reckless," I said. "I inherited that trait from you." The connection ended. The quarantine room lights flickered. A new message appeared on my phone from an unknown number. "Return the red notebook and your sponsorship may survive the night." Dominic read it over my shoulder. His scent surged so abruptly that the air seemed to tighten. The response was biological before it became emotional. Every Omega instinct I possessed recognized an alpha prepared to fight. Dominic caught himself. He stepped backward. "May I see the phone?" I handed it to him. He photographed the message using the quarantine terminal, then wrapped the phone in an evidence sleeve from the emergency cabinet. "Do not destroy my phone. I am preserving fingerprints and network data. It came through a message. The casing may still matter if someone handled it while you were in decontamination." I stared at him. "You think someone took it?" "I think Voss had access to everything you left in the outer chamber. The phone had been in my clothing locker during the first wash cycle. It had been returned through the sterilization drawer." Priya broke into the conversation. "I am checking access records." The intercom went silent. Dominic placed the evidence sleeve on the desk. Then he looked at the notebook. "May I examine it?" "No." He nodded immediately. That quick acceptance hurt more than an argument would have. "You do not get to touch it," I said. "I understand. You watched me write these pages. I remember. You told me the work would change lives." "It will. You said we would stand beside each other when it was published." His face tightened. "I remember that too. What else do you remember?" Dominic looked at the sealed door. "The night you solved the immune response collapse." My breath caught. That had happened 14 months earlier. The model had failed 17 times. I had been so exhausted that I mistook sunrise for a security light. Dominic had found me crying beside the centrifuge. He had not offered empty reassurance. He had sat on the floor with me, and reviewed each failed iteration until I saw the error. You handed me the answer, I said. No, I handed you page 4 of your own notes. You saw the pattern before I did. I saw that you had already found it. That was a contribution. Not enough to justify taking your name. Yet you took it. Yes. The word contained no defense. That made it harder to fight. A warning tone sounded from the wall. The biosafety system announced that the first atmospheric test was inconclusive. Quarantine would continue for another 6 hours. I sank into the nearest chair. The Hawthorne ceremony would begin before the doors opened. Dominic stared at the announcement timer. Voss triggered this. You cannot know that. The alert began 11 minutes after you confronted me. Contamination alarms do not respond to academic scandals. This one might. Priya returned to the intercom. I found the sensor event. Someone introduced a trace adenoviral marker into the intake vent. Is it dangerous? I asked. The concentration is too low to infect anyone. It is a calibration reagent, not an active vector. Then release us. I cannot. The automated system detected a valid molecular signature. Biosafety has to complete protocol. Who had the reagent? Priya hesitated. Voss's private demonstration kit. Dominic closed his eyes. Voss had not created a dangerous contamination. He had created the appearance of one. The lockdown prevented Dominic from reaching the stage. It separated us from the committee. It gave Voss time to remove the submission evidence and pressure me into surrendering the notebook. It was elegant in the way cruel plans often were. My phone was sealed, but the quarantine terminal still had external access. A new email appeared. The sender was Professor Voss. The subject line read, "Future Employment." The message contained one sentence. Your continued presence at this institute depends upon your ability to recognize who has tried to protect you. Dominic laughed without humor. He means himself. I know. He will claim that I manipulated you. Did you? Dominic looked at me. No. Did you ever use alpha influence on me without consent? No. Did you hide information that affected my career? Yes. Did you make a decision about my safety without allowing me to choose? Yes. Then do not pretend his accusation has no place to attach. His face went pale. I had never seen Dominic look wounded by words. He had stood through hostile peer reviews and funding interrogations without losing his calm. He had once taken a glass bottle to the shoulder while protecting a technician during a protest outside the institute. My accusation reached somewhere armor did not cover. You are right, he said. The response was immediate. No denial. No explanation. No demand that I forgive the intention because the result might save me. I wanted him to fight back because anger was easier when he behaved like the villain I needed. Instead, he opened a blank document on the terminal. What are you doing? Writing a complete confession. You already planned one. I plan to expose Voss. This will document what I did to you. He typed his name, employee number, and the manuscript title. Then he wrote that he had knowingly submitted research under his own name, despite understanding that the principal intellectual contribution belonged to me. He wrote that institutional coercion explained his conduct, but did not excuse his failure to obtain my consent. He wrote that I had not participated in the false submission. He wrote that he accepted full responsibility for any professional consequences arising from his actions. You are making yourself an easy target, I said. I already did that when I pressed submit. You could still claim Voss forced you. He did. Then include it. I will, after I state clearly that you owe me nothing. My throat tightened. Dominic continued typing. I turned away. Beyond the observation window, red emergency lights moved across stainless steel surfaces. The laboratory looked unfamiliar under them. The benches where we had worked side by side had become evidence tables. The freezers that held years of samples looked like sealed vaults containing the history of our trust. Priya opened a secure archive panel remotely. A list of deleted files appeared on the wall monitor. I recovered part of the decontamination filtration log, she said. The flash drive was captured before the liquid waste cycle. Can you retrieve it? Dominic asked. Not while the chamber is active. I can isolate the filter cartridge. Do it. I also found a temporary badge entry in the preparation room. Whose badge? Priya paused. It is assigned to Dr. Simon Hale. Simon Hale was Voss's executive research assistant. He had delivered the ceremony program to Dominic earlier that afternoon. He had also supervised the repair request for the missing analysis tablet. Where is he now? I asked. In the auditorium with Voss. A file opened on the monitor. Security footage showed Simon entering the preparation room 2 minutes before the contamination alarm. He crossed directly to Dominic's jacket, searched the inside pocket, and removed a small black object. The flash drive. Simon then looked toward the corridor camera. He smiled. Why would he take it if Voss did not know what was on it? I asked. Dominic's expression remained fixed on the screen. Because Voss has known about my plan since yesterday. Then why let you reach the ceremony at all? He needed the paper accepted before he could remove me. Remove you how? Dominic did not answer. Priya did. His institute account was suspended 4 minutes before the alarm. Human Resources has a termination letter scheduled for release at midnight. I looked at Dominic. You knew? I expected it. You planned to destroy your career and still did not tell me. I planned to preserve yours. You do not own mine. I know. Stop saying that as though knowing it now repairs what you did. His alpha scent receded until almost nothing remained. Dominic took a scent-blocking strip from the emergency cabinet and pressed it against his wrist. Then he sat on the opposite side of the room. The gesture was meant to give me space. It also felt like watching him disappear. Another hour passed. We reviewed the contribution history in silence. Version 1 had begun as my proposal. Version 2 contained Dominic's validation models. Version 3 added Priya's laboratory controls. Version 4 included patient response data collected through a partner clinic. Version 5 was rejected internally by Voss, who claimed the conclusions were too aggressive. Version 6 incorporated a new safety analysis that I had written after Dominic challenged one of my assumptions. Version 7 listed all 3 of us. Version 8 removed me and Priya, deleted Dominic's valid models, and attributed nearly everything to Dominic. Each change carried a timestamp. Each timestamp transformed memory into evidence. I opened the red notebook to the entry dated February 3rd. The page contained the first version of the adaptive response equation. Dominic had written one sentence in the margin. This is the door. I remembered asking what he meant. He had said that medicine spent too much time treating locked systems like walls. My model had not broken the immune response. It had found the door through it. I touched the faded ink. Dominic watched from across the room. Was that sentence part of the plan too? I asked. No. Was any of it real? All of it. You cared about the research. Yes. You cared about me. He inhaled. Yes. The answer entered the room carefully. It did not carry dominance or expectation. It frightened me more than a stronger claim would have. How long? Evan, you took my choice in every other part of this. Do not take it here by deciding I cannot hear the answer. Dominic looked down at his hands. Since the winter, you started sleeping under your desk because the radiator beside the sample room was broken. That was 2 years ago. 2 years and 8 months. You counted. I tried not to. Why did you never tell me? You depended on my collaboration. I was an alpha with more seniority, a permanent appointment path, and influence over your project access. Telling you while that imbalance existed would have placed pressure on you, even if I promised it did not. You thought of that, but not of telling me about Voss. Yes, his honesty was unbearable. My skin felt too warm. At first, I blamed anger. Then the adhesive beneath my suppressant patch began to burn. The decontamination spray had damaged the edge. Stress had done the rest. I reached beneath my collar and touched the patch. It had partially detached. Dominic noticed. He stood, then stopped himself before crossing the room. "Is your suppressant failing?" "I am fine." "That was not my question." "Do not use that tone." His voice softened immediately. "Do you need the medical kit? I can get it myself." The emergency kit was mounted on the wall beside him. Dominic moved away from it. I crossed the room and opened the case. It contained neutralizing spray, hydration salts, monitoring strips, and 2 emergency suppressant doses. The doses were calibrated for routine stress reactions, not prolonged confinement with an alpha whose scent my body had been quietly memorizing for years. I applied a monitoring strip to my wrist. The indicator turned amber. Dominic looked toward the far wall. "Tell me what you need." "I need you not to pretend this is noble." "I am not. I need you not to decide what is best for me." "I will not." "I need you to stay on your side of the room." He stepped farther back until his shoulders touched the wall. "Done." I used the neutralizing spray. The sharp medicinal scent made my eyes water. The indicator remained amber. Dominic reached into his shirt pocket and removed his personal scent blocker. He placed it on the floor, then pushed it toward me with his shoe. "It is stronger than the emergency strips." "I told you not to come closer." "I am not." I picked it up. His fingers had warmed the sealed packet. The contact should have meant nothing. Instead, it made the room feel smaller. I applied the blocker to the inside of my collar. The pressure behind my ribs eased. "Thank you," I said before I could stop myself. Dominic nodded. He did not treat gratitude as forgiveness. That restraint mattered. I hated that it mattered. Priya's voice returned. "I found a copy of the immigration threat." Dominic crossed to the monitor, but he kept the full width of the room between us. Priya opened an archived audio file. Voss's voice filled the quarantine suite. "If Evan Cross appears on that manuscript, the patient data report will be filed before the journal confirms receipt. His visa sponsorship will be withdrawn before he has time to contest the allegation." Dominic's recorded voice answered. "You would destroy an innocent researcher to control an author list. I would protect this institute from an Omega who has mistaken access for ownership. He created the treatment. He created a complication. If you remove his name, I will expose you. Then he will be detained while you attempt it." The recording ended. I could hear my own pulse. Priya spoke quietly. "There are 3 more files." "Play them," I said. Dominic turned. "You do not have to hear this now." "Yes, I do. Your suppressant reading is unstable. My career is unstable. My immigration status is unstable. My trust in you is unstable. Play the files." The second recording captured Voss threatening to revoke Priya's laboratory certification if she preserved unauthorized copies. The third contained Simon Hale describing the false patient data evidence placed on the missing tablet. The fourth was quieter than the others. Voss told Dominic that one signature could keep me safe. He said Dominic only needed to submit version 8, attend the ceremony, accept the prize, and publicly thank the institute. Dominic answered that he would submit. His voice in the recording sounded calm. I knew him well enough now to hear what existed beneath it. He had been terrified. Not for himself. For me. The file ended. I looked at him across the red-lit room. "You should have trusted me." "Yes." "We could have gone to Celeste together." "Yes." "We could have contacted an attorney." "Yes." "We could have left the institute." "I thought Voss would file the accusation the moment you knew. You thought you were the only person capable of making a difficult choice." Dominic lowered his head. "Yes." The admission stripped the last defense from him. I wanted to remain furious. I was furious. But fury had changed shape. It no longer pointed in only one direction. The temperature warning on my monitoring strip deepened toward orange. Dominic saw it. He pressed the emergency call button. Priya answered. Evan's suppressant response is worsening. I can read my own strip, I said. The clinic cannot enter until the contamination clearance completes, Priya replied. There is a stabilization protocol in the cabinet. I found the instruction card. The protocol recommended controlled breathing, hydration, reduced sensory stimulation, and grounding through a trusted scent source if the Omega consented. Trusted scent source. The phrase would have been funny under any other circumstances. Dominic stepped toward the sealed inner observation room. I can lock myself inside there. The door does not lock from this side, Priya said. Override it. I cannot override containment partitions during an active aerosol event. I will stay against the wall. The indicator turned orange. My knees weakened. Dominic moved instinctively. He stopped 2 steps away. Evan, may I help you sit down? I hated that he asked. I loved that he asked. Yes. He approached slowly, giving me time to change my mind. One hand supported my elbow. The other hovered near my back without touching until I nodded. His palm settled between my shoulder blades. Warmth moved through the thin fabric of my shirt. My body recognized him before my mind permitted it. The clean cedar scent beneath his blockers was familiar. It carried memories of shared night shifts, rain-soaked conferences, cold coffee, and the quiet hours when neither of us needed to explain why we had stayed. He helped me sit on the floor beside the emergency cabinet. Then he started to move away. Stay, I said. Dominic froze. I closed my eyes. Only until the reading lowers. Only until then. Do not use alpha pressure. I will not. Do not touch my neck. I will not. Do not mistake this for forgiveness. I will not. He sat beside me with several inches between us. The space felt charged. I breathed in slowly. The scent blocker softened his presence without erasing it. My pulse began to match the rhythm of his breathing. Dominic kept his hands visible on his knees. The orange indicator stopped darkening. You plan to say my name on stage, I whispered. Yes? What else? The dates. What dates? Every date attached to your stolen contribution. You memorized them? All of them. I opened my eyes. His face was closer than I expected. How many? 37. You memorized 37 dates. I needed the committee to understand that this was not one missing credit line. It was a pattern. What were you going to say after the dates? Nothing. Nothing. The speech was only going to contain your name and the record. The room blurred for a moment. Dominic lifted one hand, then stopped before touching me. May I? I should have asked what he meant. Instead, I nodded. His fingertips brushed a damp strand of hair from my forehead. The contact was almost unbearably gentle. My scent changed. His eyes darkened, but he did not move closer. The alpha instinct in him was visible in every controlled breath, every tightened muscle, and every deliberate choice not to claim what I had not offered. What happens when the reading lowers? He asked. I move away. And if it does not, we call Priya. And if the medical team cannot enter, I looked at his mouth. That is not the question you are asking. No. His voice dropped. The red emergency lights moved across his face. For one suspended second, the betrayal, the recordings, the award, and the walls around us all seemed to recede. His hand remained near my cheek. He waited. I could have closed the distance. I could have ordered him away. I could have demanded every truth while the locked laboratory held us outside ordinary time. The air between us changed when my fingers closed around the front of his shirt. Dominic whispered my name like a question. That is where the YouTube safe version must fade to black. The full sealed laboratory continuation, the adult intimacy scene, Dominic's fearful alpha point of view, and the private aftermath are available on Patreon. For now, the story returns to the next morning, when the containment lights finally turned green. I woke beneath Dominic's dry lab coat. My head rested against the wall. Dominic sat several feet away beside the terminal. The distance told me that whatever had happened during the missing hours, he had honored every boundary I set. My monitoring strip had returned to yellow. A sealed bottle of water and a fresh suppressant dose waited beside me. The room smelled faintly of cedar and the neutralizing spray. Dominic looked exhausted. There were shadows beneath his eyes and a small cut across his palm. I remembered him breaking the safety seal on the medical kit when the dispenser jammed. I remembered his voice asking permission before every movement. Other memories pressed closer. I pushed them away. "Did you sleep?" I asked. "No." "What time is it?" 6:20. The ceremony had begun at 7 the previous evening. The award presentation was scheduled for the final morning session because the contamination lockdown had forced the committee to postpone it. "You still have time to reach the stage," I said. "If the doors open." A green progress bar on the wall showed that the final atmospheric test was 92% complete. Priya appeared through the observation window in the adjacent control vestibule. She held up the recovered flash drive. Dominic stood. Priya inserted the drive into an isolated terminal. Files populated the monitor. There were copies of the audio threats, version histories, security footage, payroll communications, visa sponsorship documents, and internal messages between Voss and the Hawthorne guest editor. There was also a folder labeled "After the Ceremony." I opened it. Inside were documents establishing a legal defense fund in my name, a list of immigration attorneys, signed statements from 3 former researchers, and a transfer agreement assigning Dominic's patent interest to me. I looked at him. "You were giving me your share. It was never mine. You contributed, not to the accepted version. You still contributed to the project. Then you may decide what that contribution deserves after you are safe." Another document contained Dominic's resignation. It was dated 2 weeks earlier. "You resigned before submitting. I scheduled it to activate after the speech." "You expected to leave the institute?" "Yes." "Where were you going?" I had not decided. The folder contained no new appointment, no competing offer, and no plan for himself. Every document pointed toward my survival. None pointed toward his. "That is not protection," I said. "That is self-destruction." It was the only way I could make the evidence credible. "You always have a reason." "I know. And every reason ends with you deciding alone." He looked at the floor. "What do you want me to do?" The question was different from the others. He was not asking what would calm me. He was asking me to choose the plan. I stood slowly. "I want the journal history released before the award presentation. Voss will attempt to stop the ceremony. Then Celeste sends it to the committee chair. She may be removed from the building. Noah has a copy of the call link." Dominic almost smiled. "My brother is very difficult to remove from buildings." I noticed. "I want Priya's certification protected." "We can include the threat recording. I want Simon offered legal counsel if he testifies." Dominic looked surprised. "He planted evidence against you. He did it under Voss's direction. That does not make him innocent, but it may make him useful." "What about the paper?" "I want an immediate authorship investigation and temporary withdrawal." "You could demand correction." "Not until every result is independently verified." Voss touched the review process. "I will not protect my reputation by pretending that only the author line was compromised." Dominic nodded. "What about me?" I looked at him. "You confess exactly as planned." His face did not change, but his scent carried a brief note of pain. "You do not add excuses," I continued. "You do not ask the committee to forgive you because Voss threatened me. You tell them what you did." "I will." "Then I decide whether your actions preserved enough truth for us to rebuild anything." "Us as researchers?" "I have not decided." He accepted that too. Priya cleared her throat through the intercom. I admire the emotional maturity occurring in quarantine, but Voss has requested an emergency court order claiming that the notebook contains proprietary information. I picked up the red notebook. He cannot have it. He may attempt to seize it when the doors open. Then we copy every page. Dominic moved toward the scanner. He stopped. May I handle it now? The question carried the weight of everything that had happened. I held the notebook against my chest. Then I placed it in his hands. Only for the scan. Only for the scan. He treated it like something breakable. Page by page, we copied the record. The February 3rd equation. The March 18th safety revision. The April 9th patient response model. The June 22nd protocol correction. The September 14th failed trial that had led to the final discovery. 37 dated contributions. Dominic named each one before the scanner captured it. He truly had memorized them all. When we reached the final page, I saw an entry I had forgotten. It was dated 3 weeks earlier. The handwriting was mine. Dominic says the work belongs to the people it can save, but today, he reminded Voss that saving people does not require erasing the scientist who found the answer. I had written it after a faculty meeting. Voss had suggested that an Omega researcher should remain a technical contributor while a more stable public representative presented the findings. Dominic had refused. He had done it in front of 12 department heads. At the time, I thought that refusal proved he would never let anyone take my name. Perhaps Voss had heard the same promise and decided to weaponize it. Dominic scanned the page. His thumb rested beside the sentence without covering it. "You believed in me that day," he said. "Yes. I am sorry." The apology was quiet. It did not ask to be accepted. The containment system chimed. The final test was negative. Green lights replaced the red ones. The doors would release after a 10-minute medical assessment. Priya copied the evidence to 4 secure locations. Celeste joined the call again. She was inside a private conference room with Dr. Amara Patel, chair of the Hawthorne Funding Committee. Dr. Patel was a beta physician known for dismantling hospital monopolies with the same calm precision she used in surgery. She looked directly at Dominic. "Are you prepared to state publicly that the accepted authorship declaration is false? Yes? Were you coerced? Yes? Did coercion remove your ability to contact Dr. Cross through any method? No. Then you accept that he may regard your actions as a betrayal regardless of your stated motive. Yes." Dr. Patel turned to me. "Dr. Cross, do you want the ceremony canceled?" The question startled me. I imagined Voss's relief if the stage disappeared. He could call the matter an internal dispute. He could delay the evidence. He could pressure witnesses one at a time. "No," I said. Dominic looked at me. "I want the ceremony to continue." "Why?" "Because Voss built it to display the version of history he purchased. I want everyone who came to applaud that version to watch it fail." Dr. Patel's expression sharpened with approval. "The Institute has attempted to remove Ms. Romero from the guest list." Celeste smiled without humor. "I remain difficult to remove." Noah leaned into view. "That seems to be a theme." I nearly laughed. The medical assessment began. A remote clinician verified our vital signs and reviewed the suppressant incident. Dominic did not speak about the hours the YouTube-safe version could not show. He described only the objective medical steps, the consent checks, and the stabilization protocol. He protected my privacy even when silence made him look worse. The outer door released at 6:48. Security waited in the corridor. So did Professor Voss. He had changed into a dark ceremonial jacket. His silver hair was perfectly arranged. Simon Hale stood behind him, pale and silent. Voss's gaze went immediately to the red notebook in my hands. "Give that to security." "No. The notebook contains proprietary institute data. It contains evidence in an active authorship investigation." "There is no investigation." Celeste stepped from the opposite corridor. "There is now." Dr. Patel joined her. 2 members of the Hawthorne Oversight Board followed. Voss looked at Dominic. "You have confused panic with courage." Dominic stood beside me, but he did not move in front of me this time. He allowed me to occupy my own space. "You threatened Dr. Cross's visa," he said. "I discussed institutional compliance. You fabricated a patient data violation. That is an extraordinary accusation from a terminated employee." Simon flinched. I noticed. Voss did too. His voice softened. "Simon, explain the missing tablet." Simon looked at the floor. Voss stepped closer. The alpha pressure in the corridor increased. It was not strong enough to look dramatic on camera. It was calibrated to make an Omega doubt his own balance and a frightened assistant remember who controlled his future. Dominic's posture changed. I touched his wrist. He looked at me. "Let Simon answer," I said. The pressure eased because Dominic chose restraint. Simon swallowed. "Professor Voss instructed me to register the tablet under Dr. Cross's badge." Voss did not turn. "Consider your next words carefully." I already did. Simon removed a small recorder from his pocket. He instructed me to copy restricted file names onto the device. He said the report would never be filed if Dr. Lee followed the authorship plan. Voss's expression became empty. Simon continued. "I took the flash drive yesterday because Professor Voss told me it contained falsified evidence. After the contamination alarm, I reviewed the files. They were not falsified." "You contaminated the intake vent?" Priya asked. Simon's face crumpled. "I inserted the calibration reagent. Professor Voss said the lockdown would last 1 hour. It lasted 14, Priya said. "I am sorry." "Sorry does not recalibrate an entire clean suite." "No," Simon whispered. Voss looked at Dr. Patel. "This is a coordinated attempt by junior staff to seize control of protected intellectual property." Dr. Patel held up a tablet. "The journal metadata, archived audio, security video, and your messages to the guest editor disagree. You have no authority over institute employment." "No, I have authority over the $200 million in funding scheduled for renewal this morning." For the first time, Voss lost control of his scent. Cold aggression filled the corridor. Security officers shifted uneasily. Dr. Patel did not react. "The ceremony begins in 11 minutes, she said. "The Oversight Board will hear Dr. Lee's statement, then it will hear Dr. Cross." Voss looked at me. "You believe this spectacle will protect you?" "No," I said. "The evidence will. You are here because this institute sponsored you." "I am here because I earned my place." "You will lose everything." I lifted the red notebook. "You taught me that ownership belongs to whoever controls the record. You should have checked who kept the dates." We walked toward the auditorium. The corridor walls displayed giant photographs of Dominic beneath the words, "The future of immune medicine." Workers had not had time to remove them. Dominic looked away from his own image. "You can still choose not to enter," he said. "So can you." I made my choice. "No. You made the first one alone. This one belongs to both of us." He met my eyes. "What are you choosing?" "To finish the truth." The auditorium doors opened. Hundreds of guests turned toward us. Researchers, donors, physicians, journalists, and funding representatives filled the seats. Cameras pointed toward the stage. A gold Hawthorne trophy stood beneath a spotlight. Noah was seated in the second row. He rose when he saw me. His expression moved from relief to anger when he looked at Dominic, then back to relief again. Priya took the seat beside him with a laptop balanced on her knees. Celeste joined the journal representatives near the aisle. Dr. Patel walked directly to the committee table. Voss entered through another door. The ceremony host received a message through his earpiece. His smile faltered. The program continued. A video praised Voss's leadership. Another described Dominic as the visionary behind the treatment. My equations appeared on the screen, while a narrator credited someone else. The audience applauded. Each clap felt like a door closing. Dominic stood beside me at the back of the auditorium. His hands were steady. His scent was not. "Are you afraid?" I asked. "Yes." "Of losing the prize?" "No." "Your career?" "No." "What then?" "That I protected your ability to remain here and destroyed every reason you might choose to stay near me." The honesty settled between us. "You do not get my answer before the stage," I said. "I know." The host invited Professor Voss to present the Hawthorne Medical Prize. Voss walked beneath the spotlight. He spoke about scientific courage, disciplined leadership, and the importance of institutions that recognize genius. Then he called Dominic's name. The audience rose. Dominic did not move. I touched the red notebook. He looked down at it. "Take it," I said. He hesitated. "You said the speech needed the record." Dominic accepted the notebook with both hands. Then he walked toward the stage. The applause followed him. Voss extended one hand. Dominic passed him without taking it. The gold trophy waited on its pedestal. Dominic stopped in front of the microphone. The screen behind him displayed his name. Dominic Lee, Hawthorne Medical Prize recipient. Voss moved close enough to whisper. The microphone captured only a breath of sound. Dominic looked into the audience. His gaze found me. Then he removed the prepared acceptance card from his pocket. He tore it in half. The applause faded. Dominic placed the red notebook beside the trophy. He adjusted the microphone. When he began speaking, his acceptance speech contained only my name and the dates of every stolen contribution. Evan Cross, February 3rd. The screen behind him changed. Priya had accessed the presentation feed. A scanned notebook page appeared, displaying my first equation and its timestamp. Evan Cross, February 17th. The protocol correction appeared. Evan Cross, March 18th. The safety model appeared. Evan Cross, April 9th. The patient response framework appeared. Voss stepped toward the control panel. Dr. Patel blocked him. Dominic continued. Evan Cross, April 26th. Another page. Another date. Another piece of work restored to its creator. Evan Cross, May 11th. The auditorium had become completely silent. Evan Cross, June 22nd. Journal metadata appeared beside the notebook page. Evan Cross, July 7th. Celeste stood. She held up the preserved version 7 submission record. Evan Cross, August 19th. Noah's eyes filled with tears. Evan Cross, September 14th. Priya displayed the failed trial and my corrective analysis. Evan Cross, October 2nd. Voss spoke to security, but the officers did not move. Evan Cross, October 29th. Dominic did not explain. He did not defend himself. He gave the audience my name and the record. Evan Cross, November 12th. The dates continued. 37 contributions. 37 thefts spoken aloud. Each repetition stripped another layer from the story Voss had built. By the final date, Dominic's voice had begun to shake. Evan Cross, January 8th. The last page appeared. It showed the complete treatment model and my handwritten signature. Dominic closed the notebook. He looked at the trophy. Then he stepped away from it. He had said nothing except my name and the dates. The host stared at him. Voss reached for the microphone. Dr. Patel disconnected it. Celeste walked onto the stage. The journal has preserved evidence that Dr. Cross was listed as a principal author before the manuscript was withdrawn and resubmitted through Dr. Lee's account. The audience erupted into whispers. Voss raised his voice. This is defamatory theater, organized by a resentful employee. Dr. Patel activated a second microphone. The Hawthorne Oversight Board received authenticated recordings indicating that Professor Voss threatened Dr. Cross's immigration sponsorship and directed the fabrication of a medical data violation. Voss looked toward the exits. Security officers moved there first. He turned to Dominic. "You submitted the declaration." Dominic faced him. "Yes." "You signed your name." "Yes." "You accepted responsibility for the work." "Yes." Voss smiled. "Then your confession proves only your own fraud. That is why I made it." The words were the first Dominic had spoken beyond my name and the dates. He looked toward me. "I submitted a false authorship declaration. Professor Voss coerced that decision by threatening Dr. Cross, but the decision remained mine. Dr. Cross did not consent. He did not know. He owes me no forgiveness." The audience was silent again. Voss laughed. "You think sacrificing yourself makes him the author?" "No," Dominic said. "His work makes him the author." Dr. Patel called my name. Every face in the auditorium turned toward me. My legs felt unsteady. Noah stepped into the aisle. He did not approach. He simply stood where I could see him. Priya closed her laptop and nodded. Celeste held version 7 against her chest. Dominic waited on stage beside the award he had refused. I walked forward. The distance from the back of the auditorium to the stage was less than 100 feet. It contained 3 years of work, 6 weeks of coercion, 1 night of confinement, and every version of the future I had believed I had lost. Voss watched me climb the stairs. His expression had recovered its calm. That frightened me more than anger. He still believed influence would save him. He still believed my visa made me temporary. He still believed Dominic's betrayal had made me too damaged to speak clearly. I placed one hand on the red notebook. "This study began as a question," I said. "Could an immune system be guided away from a destructive response without being silenced?" The audience listened. The answer required us to distinguish control from healing. Professor Voss treated this laboratory the way failed medicine treats the body. He attempted to suppress whatever he could not command. Voss's face hardened. I continued. "Dominic Lee submitted my work without my name. He did so after Professor Voss threatened my immigration status and fabricated evidence against me. Those threats explain the conditions. They do not erase Dominic's choice." Dominic lowered his head. "I will not turn him into a hero because he intended to expose the man who coerced him. I will not turn him into a monster because he failed while trying to protect me." Dominic looked up. "I will allow the evidence to describe what each of us did." I opened the notebook. "My name appears on these pages because I wrote them. Priya Nair's work appears in the laboratory controls because she designed them. Dominic Lee's legitimate contribution appears in the validation models he deleted before submission." A murmur moved through the room. I faced Celeste. "I am requesting withdrawal of the accepted paper until an independent group verifies every result." Voss interrupted. "You would delay treatment for patients because your pride was injured?" I looked at him. "I would protect patients from research processed through a compromised review system." Dr. Patel spoke. "The funding committee agrees." Voss's certainty finally broke. "You cannot suspend this program. We can suspend your control of it," Dr. Patel said. She turned toward security. "Professor Voss's facility access is revoked pending investigation. Preserve all devices, records, and communications connected to the manuscript, sponsorship office, and contamination event." Security approached. Voss looked at Dominic one last time. "You were supposed to understand power." Dominic stood beside me. I did. Voss waited. Dominic's voice remained calm. "That is why I knew it had to be taken from you in public." Security escorted Voss from the stage. Simon Hale followed voluntarily with an investigator. The audience did not applaud. The moment was too raw for celebration. Dr. Patel covered the trophy with its presentation cloth. "The Hawthorne Prize is suspended," she announced. "It will not be reassigned until the authorship and scientific review are complete." I felt a brief sting. The trophy had become a symbol of theft, but some part of me had imagined Dominic placing it in my hands. That would have been satisfying. It would also have been false. An award could not repair the months stolen from me. It could not return the version of Dominic I had trusted before the submission. It could not make the choices ahead simple. Celeste approached. The journal will publish an immediate expression of concern and begin formal correction or retraction proceedings. Retraction, I said, then resubmission after independent verification. That may take months. I know. You may lose priority. I would rather lose priority than inherit Voss's methods. She smiled slightly. That answer will make the investigation easier. Priya joined us. The clean suite is offline for recalibration. Simon has surrendered his devices, and I have not slept in 26 hours. You should go home, I said. I should be given control of the institute and a comfortable chair. Dr. Patel heard her. We can discuss the first request. Priya stared. Then she decided exhaustion had produced an auditory hallucination and walked toward the coffee service. Noah reached the stage. He hugged me hard enough to make breathing difficult. You did not answer my last 4 messages. My phone is evidence. That is the worst excuse you have ever given me. He released me and turned toward Dominic. The height difference between them was considerable. Noah ignored it. I still want to break your nose. Dominic nodded. I understand. Do not agree with me. It makes this less satisfying. I can disagree. Do you? No. Noah looked at me. This is complicated. Yes. I dislike complicated. You are studying emergency medicine. That is different. Bodies make sense. I glanced toward Dominic. Not always. Noah followed my gaze. His anger softened, but it did not disappear. Are you safe with him? The question mattered more than whether Dominic had saved my visa. It mattered more than whether he loved me. I considered the sealed laboratory, the damaged suppressant patch, the distance Dominic maintained after I asked, and every moment when he could have used instinct as an excuse but did not. Yes, I said. I was safe with him. Dominic closed his eyes briefly. Noah nodded. That is not the same as trusting him. No. Are you going to forgive him? I do not know. Dominic heard the answer. He did not ask me to change it. Dr. Patel summoned him to meet with investigators. Before leaving, he offered me the red notebook. I took it. Our fingers touched. The contact carried the memory of the missing hours inside the laboratory. Dominic's scent shifted. He pulled his hand away first. I will give the committee every file, he said. Even the resignation? Yes. The patent transfer? Yes. The private defense fund? If you want it. I do not want decisions made in my name without me. Then it will be dissolved unless you instruct otherwise. I studied him. What will you do after the investigation? That depends on whether I am permitted to work in research again. You removed your own evidence before the submission. You preserved the history. You exposed Voss. I also used your work without consent. Both things are true. Yes. He looked toward the covered trophy. I thought the stage would feel like an ending. It was not. No. It was a correction. Dominic's gaze returned to me. What happens next? I decide what belongs in the next version. A committee attorney approached. Dominic had to leave. He walked away without asking for reassurance. The auditorium emptied slowly. Journalists waited outside, but Dr. Patel arranged a private exit for me. Celeste promised to provide certified copies of every submission record. Priya received temporary authority over the laboratory archive. Noah found the untouched dessert table and filled 3 napkins with pastries because he believed institutional scandal should not interfere with free food. I remained beside the stage. The covered Hawthorne trophy sat beneath the spotlight. The red notebook rested in my hands. A small card lay beneath it. Dominic must have placed it there before the speech. The card contained an address and a key taped to the back. Beneath the address, He had written one sentence. The building is empty, the lease is independent, and no decision has been made in your name. I recognized the address. It belonged to a small research facility across the river. The building had once housed a non-profit diagnostic laboratory before funding cuts closed it. I turned the card over. Another sentence appeared. You once said medicine needed a place where temporary status could never be used to make a scientist temporary. My pulse changed. Dominic had listened. Months earlier, after Voss humiliated a visiting Omega researcher, I had described the laboratory I would build if money and influence did not matter. Independent governance, transparent contribution records, immigration support separate from supervisors, a rotating ethics board, no single alpha with the authority to erase a career. Dominic had remembered every detail. The key did not mean the facility was mine. It did not mean we would work there together. It meant a door existed. That evening, after the investigators completed their first interviews, I went to the address. The building stood dark beside the river. I used the key. Inside, the air smelled of dust, old equipment, and recently painted walls. One laboratory room had been restored. 2 desks faced opposite windows. A red notebook lay open on one. It was not mine. It was new. The first page contained a contribution agreement with 2 blank signature lines. Dominic stood at the far end of the room. He had removed his ceremony jacket. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows. Without the stage lights and cameras, he looked more exhausted than powerful. You came, he said. I wanted to see what the key opened. Nothing is finalized. You paid the lease. A whistleblower organization paid the first 6 months after reviewing the evidence. You arranged that before the ceremony. Yes. Another decision. An option, not a decision. I walked toward the desk. The agreement listed independent review rules, authorship protections, and procedures preventing visa sponsorship from being controlled by a direct supervisor. At the bottom, a handwritten note stated that Evan Cross would possess equal authority over any future research program only if he chose to participate. Dominic remained across the room. You planned an independent center, I said. I planned a room where Voss could not reach the records. For me? For the work. That is not the whole truth. No. The river lights moved across the windows. I placed the old red notebook beside the new one. The 2 covers looked almost identical. One contained a history of theft. The other contained empty pages. What would you call it? I asked. The center? Yes. I did not name it. Why not? Names should belong to the people who earn them. I looked at him. He did not approach. The space between us was no longer enforced by quarantine doors. It existed because he was waiting for my choice. What happened in the laboratory does not erase what you did, I said. I know. It does not guarantee that I can trust you again. I know. It does not mean I am ready to answer what you told me. I know. I exhaled. Do you have any other words? A faint, tired smile touched his mouth. Many. Then use one that is not I know. Dominic considered the request. Stay. The alpha weight in the word vanished before it could become a command. It was only a hope. I stepped closer. One night? As long as you choose. To review the agreement? Yes. Nothing else? His gaze lowered briefly to my mouth, then returned to my eyes. Nothing you do not choose. I reached the desk. Only inches separated us. The air carried the same cedar scent that had steadied me inside the laboratory. This time there were no alarms, no damaged suppressants, and no locked doors. There was only the truth, incomplete and difficult. Dominic lifted one hand. He waited. I placed the new research key in his palm. Then I closed his fingers around it. This is not forgiveness, I said. No. It is not an answer. No. It is one night to write the rules together. His voice softened. I will take one honest night. I opened the new notebook. Dominic moved to the opposite side of the desk. We began with authorship. Outside, the river carried the city lights past the dark windows. Inside, the first blank page waited for both our names. That is where the YouTube-safe version ends. The real ending continues on Patreon, with the uncut sealed laboratory scene, the adult spicy continuation, Dominic's fearful alpha point of view, Professor Voss's complete threats, Evan's final answer, the private reconciliation that YouTube could not include, and the bonus epilogue revealing whether Evan and Dominic opened the Independent Research Center together. The Patreon link is in the description and pinned comment. Unlock the full continuation now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Because I don't make any money from YouTube, I depend entirely on paid Patreon subscriptions to keep this channel alive and continue creating content for you. I will keep posting here on YouTube, but if you want to support my work, please visit patreon.com/FelixBL. The link is the very first one in the description below. Before you go, tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from and share your thoughts on the story.